something of a rock legend. Now you've had a bunch of recording deals, you've been with Warner, you've been with Interscope, and your music's been on loads of soundtracks as well.
Yeah, in terms of soundtracks, I was in What Happens in Vegas, I was the end credit song there. Mystery Men was in that soundtrack, Clubland. I was in The Hammer. I did a version of Johnny Cash's Ring of Fire in that film. A number of TV programs and things like that over the years.
Yeah.
And I put out 3 albums of my own, and yeah.
You have had heaps of major record deals.
Yeah, heaps. I don't know. I've had, technically, I suppose there were actually four deals in there, but 3 records came out. Initially, I was signed to Interscope. One of the largest labels in the world. Later, had to deal with Universal briefly. That I got sort of dropped from Universal. Then was re-signed to Warner Brothers subsidiary for one record, and then more recently an independent label.
Right. So, I mean, that's the kind of success that a lot of musicians could only dream of.
Sure.
But that, for you, hasn't been a rosy story.
No, I mean, it was great for a second. It looked like I was set to be the next big thing, and I had a great experience. I got paid quite well from the initial record deal and publishing deal.
So, how much are we talking? What kind of record deal are we talking?
It was in the ballpark of 2.2 million.
Right. Okay. So a lot of musicians would call that success if they got to that.
Yeah, no, on the financial level, it was successful. You know, the disappointing part was that when the record actually came out, all the promises to sort of stick with you through thick and thin that every label is going to make, they didn't really happen. The record didn't sell enough copies, and I was dropped from the deal.
Right. That must have been really disheartening.
Yeah. No fun. No conversations, no let's work on some new demos, just literally a phone call from the lawyer saying, it's over, and,
wow.
and you're back at square one.
And so what happened when you got back to square one?
As I mentioned, I kept at it. I got back on the horse and got multiple new deals and kept trying to get deals, but the truth was that after each deal, it just kind of kept getting worse. It got harder and harder because the deals got smaller and smaller, as did the labels. And each time, I just wasn't selling enough copies, and it was starting to, look a little grim.
Right. Then what action did you take?
I had started exploring other ways to make money because the writing was on the wall, and if the bank account didn't turn around, I was going to need to get a job. And
wow! Stop!
I did not want to do that, nor did I have the skills to do so.
You don't have the haircut for a job, really.
Exactly. That was my argument. So one day I'm sitting there on the computer, and I've been wondering about this whole make money online thing that everybody sees everywhere, and that seemed perfect. I could be autonomous, and one night I sprang for a course. I spent, I think, $200 on a course that promised to make me millions of dollars, so little to no effort while I was sleeping. So I buy the course. I sit up all night. I spend, I think, $10 on advertising. It was a paid advertising-based strategy, so I got kind of quick results. And lo and behold, I woke up and I sold a $20 ebook, and I was hooked. I was convinced that where I can make, so one $20 ebook or whatever the product might be, there was more money to be made.
So you spent $10 and you made 20.
Yes.
Cool. Double your money. I like it.
I did. And it was, inspiring. You had this cynicism about these things. They're all scams. It's all rubbish. And for it to actually work was kind of inspiring. And again, it gave me hope that there were other avenues out there for me that didn't involve getting a day job.
So you still don't have a day job?
I still don't have a day job.
Brilliant. So you obviously took some more action after that.
I did, yeah. So pursuing this, like I say, I got the bug, and I spent the next probably about a year before things really came to a head. It wasn't easy. I had a lot of failures. That first sale was not followed by millions of sales with little to no effort. But after about a year, I had sort of cracked the code, so to speak, on what it means to run a successful online business. And I built an e-commerce business that sold, it's over $2 million at this point. I'm not exactly sure where it's at right now, but over $2 million in sales. Wow, and that was just the first initial business. Like I said, nothing to do with music just yet.
Yeah.
It was just trying to get the finances in order.
Okay, well done. You obviously did that.
Yeah.
And then, so once you'd taken that learning and that concept, then what happened after that?
So as you do, particularly when you're working online, you're always looking for new angles, new projects, and it only kind of made sense. I was, as I say, still making music, and I thought maybe, what if some of this stuff I'm learning about marketing could be used to sell music? And I would use myself as a guinea pig and run little promotions and tests, and lo and behold, I sold records. You know, I could send out an email and wake up and there'd be $300 in album sales in my inbox, and that was something that in all of my time, whether on the labels or you know, prior to that as an independent artist, I had never been able to do. Other than playing a show and standing there at the merch table, I did not know, and I don't know anyone who did, I did not know any action that I could take that resulted in sales. And so you feel very vulnerable. You need a manager, you need a lawyer, you need a record label. And for the first time, I didn't, and it was really, really exciting.
That must have been so empowering.
Yeah, it was.
That's a fantastic kind of success story of just literally getting out there and doing it.
Yeah. Thanks.
You gotta love this guy. So listen, what do you think is the, you know, what's the ingredient? What is it about you that could make a $2 million business out of thin air?
What is it about me? I don't know. I think you know, there's a couple of different ingredients. One is just the willingness to stick at it and work, of course, but another, I suppose on a more strategic level, realizing how kind of the world works and how human beings work, and how there's really a simple process behind most of success, at least with business. It's finding a market and creating something that market wants, and then figuring out where that market is and getting your message in front of them, and really focusing on sales. At least that's been my approach, as opposed to, again, what as a musician I think I did most of my career, which is just coming up with a great idea and waiting for the world to find it. You know, sales is a process. As long as you do have a good product and you take care of people, you know, I think good customer support, especially online, is a big part of it. And it really isn't that difficult.
Yeah. It sounds, I remember you saying just a little earlier, I obsessed about direct marketing, and that was the term you used. You know, is there something about just digging in? Is there some personal attribute that people need?
Well, I heard Gary Vaynerchuk, he's a business author, and I'm a big fan of what he's all about, but he, in his book, Crush It, I think it was, and I'm definitely paraphrasing here, but talked about having the entrepreneurial spirit in your DNA, and some people have it and some people don't, but I think there may be something to that. Some people get extremely, a spark goes off, they get obsessed, and won't let up until they've accomplished what they are out to accomplish.
Well, I think that's great advice for all of us. Don't let up until you've accomplished what you set out to.
Yeah, and it helps if you have a roadmap along the way. You know, you'll get there far more often if you do.
Yeah, brilliant, John. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.